Welcome to this week's episode of Elevate Your Coaching Business. And I'm actually going to take you behind the scenes of the month of September in my business because we generated over 30K in sales in 30 days, which is great. And I want to show you what it looks like behind the scenes so that you can see what strategies were used, what works, what didn't work, because there is stuff that didn't work, and also who I got to be. So 90% of anything that you're creating in your business and in your life comes down from who, like your way of being. So like what way your mindset is, what way your attitude is, what way your perspective is, and what your overall viewpoint is of it, and whether or not you're willing to shift internally any emotions that are feeling that are not supporting you to be able to create what you want. So I'm going to go through all of that this morning. And as always, if you have any questions, if there's anything that you want me to go deeper on, put them in the comments, because right now we're streaming onto LinkedIn and to Facebook, and this will be going on to YouTube later. So if there's anything that you want me to share a little bit more on, or if you want to connect with me about this, just comment below or send me a DM. So for anyone who's new, because I do actually have a lot of new followers, which is amazing. So thank you guys so much for being here. Um, I am a business mentor and sales expert specifically for new coaches who want to get their business to take off, because I understand the challenges that are there. For the first 8 months of my business, I had made €2,000. Nobody can live off that. So like it took a lot of hustle and a lot of grind and a lot of like internal searching to really be able to figure out what worked and what didn't. And it did stem from internally, as you hear everybody say, it really does. Like when we try to look outside of us and scramble and try to put pieces of a jigsaw puzzle together, we just get like a muddy soup and it doesn't work. So this is why I always want to bring you behind the scenes to show you what's working. And also I want you to recognize where you're currently at. So like we shared a post yesterday around how somebody's year 3, year 4 in business is like what works is very different to what works in year 1, which is why I'm so passionate about supporting new coaches to get their business off the ground, because there's certain things that you need to have in place first if you want to have ongoing success. Of course you can create those like instant quick like those quick sales, but they're short-lived when the foundations aren't in place. And I can see the turmoil that happens with a lot of people when you have that initial quick when, just like I did, right? I had one client in my first 8 months, got so excited and presumed that an avalanche would fall after that, and there was nothing. Like it was literally crickets. It was so frustrating. And it's funny because I've shared this too. After I made my first 10K month, I again assumed that the avalanche would come, but it didn't, because I went back into my old habits. So this is again why I want to be able to bring you behind the scenes. So if you're new to business, or if you're in your first year, there's certain things that I'm going to share, and I'll tell you whether or not they apply to you, or what you can create so that you can go ahead and do this, right? Because your first year, year and a half, 2 years in business does look very different to year 3 and year 4, because you're more established at that stage. The presence is being built up, people are warmed to you, and you're more confident within yourself too. So like how you deliver things tends to be a little bit different. So if things are not going and if you're not creating the same, don't beat yourself up for it. Check in with yourself of where you're at and ask yourself 3 questions. What am I committed to creating? So what do I want? What am I committed to? What in that do I need support with? So what do you not know how to do? What are you scrambling to try and figure out? What are you like testing and it's just not working? And then when you know that, then ask yourself, who do I need support from to make it happen? It's not, can I make it happen? Of course you can. Will you? That comes down to your attitude, your perspective, your willingness to invest in yourself, whether that be systems, mentors, your mindset, whatever it is. But you've got to recognize that in order to be able to move forward. So let me take you behind the scenes of the 30K month. So how this all came about was I set myself a challenge in August, that I was going to say from the 1st of September for the next 90 days, I was going to attempt to do 90K in 90 days, which I have never done before. And I declared it out to everybody. I was like, I'm going to do it. And that's step 1, is declaring it out without having evidence or proof that it can be done, right? When I go into launches, I can generate pretty amazing sales. But when I'm not in launches, they like they're lower because I'm obviously not launching, so there's not the big influx behind it. So yeah, I'm not launching consistently over the next 90 days. So this was like a nice challenge for me. Plus, I put out a new offer. And you've got to test your offers and see what lands and what doesn't. So all of this was taken into place. So in August, I said, I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can do 90K in 90 days. And how the income started from there was I put it out to my communities and said, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to come behind the scenes with me? Watch what I do. And I was like, I'm going to be super transparent. I'll share with you on a day what strategies are in place. I'll share with you what's working for me, what's not working for me, where my mindset is at, where my leadership is at, what I get to shift and change, what the data tells us, what the stats tell us, all of that. And 13 people said yes. So that was great. So they came behind the scenes and they paid €9, right? So that was a small little amount of money, but it's still a start, right? So they're still with me now. We'll go live every single solitary day with them and let them know what's ahead. If something unusual has come up from the day before, if there's been a sale, if if there's like an add-on for something that I decided to do because I could read what was happening, then all of that is being shared with them. So that was step one. Then I opened up the doors to my mastermind. So my new mastermind, this has been in the works for a hell of a long time. So the doors are open to that. And in my mind, I was like, okay, if I get 2, 3, 4 people in each month, that is amazing, right? So that's where I'm going with that. Is like I don't want a big group. I personally don't want a big group. That's not what I want for the mastermind. I have another group program that we can fill with group, right? But that's not what I want for the mastermind, because I want it to be that tight-knit community where it's a high level support, so that you're getting those not necessarily quick answers, but that your movement is happening and there's momentum there and you're able to multiply what you're doing. And you've got the surround of the rest of the group with you to be able to bulk it up. So that was launched in September and a couple of people joined, which was awesome. When I say a couple, I actually mean a few, because it was 3 people joined, which was awesome. Then I had a new private client, two new private clients start, which was great, right? So all of that is what added up. But let me share with you how all of that actually came to be, because I can just say, yes, I put out my mastermind and boom, people came in. Yes, I said, I decided I want private clients and boom, they came in. No, that's not how this works. How the 90K to 90 days, that is literally how that happened. I put it out on my stories that I was doing this. I put it here. I just put it out there and was like, this is what I'm doing. If you want it, and if you want to see behind the scenes, come join me. So people said yes, and people were coming back even after I stopped putting it up. So that's how I ended up with 13 in there, which was awesome. I didn't create a sales page because it was like a lastminute.com. Why don't I bring people in? And I literally mean lastminute.com, as in I woke up the morning of the 1st of September and went, okay, screw it, let's go. So I put up just a Stripe link that obviously you could pay through Stripe, PayPal, whichever it was, for €9. So technically, did I really make any money from that? No, because Stripe's going to take a good chunk of it, but it's still cash that's coming in, is still sales, right? So that was that one. With the mastermind, my audience has been warmed up for a while, right? I've been in business for 3 years now. Like, me being live, me sharing, me selling isn't new. So my audience already warmed up. I know my audience. I ask you guys questions all the time. I survey my email list all the time. I'm in DM conversations. I'm having market research calls. So I'm very familiar with my audience and what they need and what you want. So when I was putting out my mastermind, before I put out my mastermind, I had a series of emails, stories, posts to warm up everybody, so that this is what I was gearing people towards, that it was coming. And then when the doors opened, right? So I did do a masterclass. That's not true. I did a webinar right before I opened the doors. So the day the doors were going to be opened, I did a webinar and pitched the entire mastermind, and then obviously invited people in, and then went into an automated sales sequence afterwards to my email list. Where I sold it then online was actually on my stories. So there's very little in my post. The majority is on my stories, because that's where we're getting the most visibility at the moment, is in stories, not in post. So you want to read your data, right? Read what your stats say, read what your platforms are telling you, and then capitalize on that. Don't just do what feels easy, like, as in, you want it to be easy, of course. When I say don't just do what feels easy, as in, don't just post because it's easy to like drop a ghost, if you know what I mean. So like, you can put up your post and then you can run away and hide and avoid, versus when you're in your stories and you can see that they're working, then that makes sense to go there, right? So go whatever works, read your data so that you can capitalize on it, rather than just avoid it and only do what feels comfortable but won't necessarily bring in the results. And you want to be selling every day. Don't be afraid to sell every day, because there's people out there that need your services, like truly need them. And if you're not sharing it, they're being left in pain. So you're continuing to be part of the problem rather than breaking the cycle and being part of the solution. So that's where we went with Mastermind. Then with the private clients. So one of them came from LinkedIn. So from watching me doing different lives, being on masterclasses, being in DM conversations, and she came in that way. And she was an instant yes, right? So the sales call wasn't even really a sales call. Then there was another lady who came from a previous client of mine. So she's working with a previous client of mine, and she sent her my way, because what she does is not business, what I do is business. So she sent her my way, which is amazing, right? It's so amazing when you have like cheerleaders in your world, and you've got people that really appreciate what you've done for them and want to send people to you, because it just shows that you're trusted, that you're respected, and that people value what you do. And that's a real honor, and it's not something like I take lightly, or I don't respect or appreciate. It's amazing when somebody does that for you. But you want to create that. So never be afraid to go above and beyond with your clients. Now, I'm not talking about breaking boundaries, right? You want to have your boundaries there, but you always want to operate in generosity. So like, I'm a massive connector. I love connecting people. So if any of you, right, that are not like clients of mine or friends of mine, and we've had a conversation, it's quite likely I've put you in contact with somebody else that I can see you will connect well with. Like, I'm a huge connector. My team that I have around me. So I have Haley, who is my VA, Paul, who does some of my tech stuff. And I also said yesterday to one of the women, no, like, she was a client of mine years ago, and she does my energy healing, but I literally send so many people her way. In fact, I don't think I have any of my clients that I haven't sent her way, because I love what she does. Energy healing is a massive part of my journey. It always has been. And like Robert, my partner, even goes to her. So like, when you have somebody like that, why wouldn't you share it with other people? So always think about that. How can you operate in generosity, and not come from a scarcity point of view or a fear that you're imposing on somebody else? Because that's not what you're doing. If that's your intention, okay, then yes, of course, that's what you're going to create. But if that's not your intention, go do it, right? It's operating from generosity. So they're all the things that work. So my email list is constantly being warmed. There's value being provided, and there's always like different things to go out to them. So for example, elevate your business today. So for anyone who's on my email list watching this, hey, this is going to then go onto my email list so that they can click on it if they weren't able to attend live, because obviously I have clients and community worldwide, right? So it's amazing that that is an opportunity that's there for them to not miss out on anything because of that. So they're all the things that worked over the course of the month. And obviously I was consistent in the 90K to 90 days, sharing with them what was going on. I also put out a bundle, right? So my clients love my sales scripts. Like, they love them. They absolutely love them, because they're easy to follow. They're usable for no matter what your coaching service is, and they convert. They convert really well. Because they're ones that I've used, I've tried and tested. They automatically go in with you being in your expertise, being in confidence. and they fit the different buyer types so that you can read which direction you go in depending on what the buyer type is in front of you. So that's why they love them. So I created a model for them because it's an easy sell, and it's beneficial for people, right? It's super valuable for you to be able to have because you know that it works. So there are all the different things. So you can see there was multiple different things. Now, again, if you're in your first year of business, that is way too much. You do not need to be doing all of that. I have been able to create all of that because I'm like so many years in business, right? But if you're new in business, pick one offer, or at least if you want to have more than one offer, which you don't need, right? But if you want to have more than one offer, have something that's low ticket that you can bring people into and then upsell from there. But you want to be, the thing with low ticket is you want to be bringing people in volume to be able to upsell, because only about 30% of people that come into a low ticket will upsell. So you just need to be mindful of those numbers. So if you bring 2 people in to like a low ticket, you're not even going to get one person to upsell. So it's you're better off having that one offer that you just stick to and that you follow through. So there, what worked. So what didn't work is I got COVID. So that didn't work because I was meant to be speaking at the Biz Expo in Crow Park, and I have to say I was devastated when I couldn't do it. And it brought up so much self-doubt, which I talked about last week. Because I had thoughts that came into my mind, like, are they going to think I'm lying? Are they going to think, I'm not being honest? Is this going to be like the end of my career? Like, these are thoughts that went through my mind. Are people going to connect with me? Like, is this it? Am I going to be now not seen as trusted because, I wasn't able to go? So it created that self-doubt in my mind. And also being unwell, you know what it's like when you're unwell and you've got a temperature, you don't function in the same way. So like I literally was on the couch for a number of days, feeling sorry for myself, but also trying to recover and recuperate. But I will say I was super grateful because I spent a lot of time journaling and connecting and like just regrounding myself on why I started my business in the first place, and also getting to look at underneath why I was experiencing that. Where was that really coming from? Why were they the thoughts that came up? Because they're my thoughts that always come up. They've come up from since I was a child. That's why that's why in the book Life Lit Up I talked about the good girl syndrome. That's exactly what I experienced, is that good girl syndrome where everything has to be perfect or good, or else I'm a bad person, I'm not lovable, I'm not, people don't want to be around me. And whenever I feel that, I hide. So if something happens that is outside of my control, those are the thoughts that come into my mind. And I've spent years like working on my mindset and working on my leadership. So I'm aware that when they came up, it's not my true self talking. It's the doubt that's kicked in. So what's really underneath it? And I know for me what's underneath it is whenever I feel that need to control, or when I feel out of control, when I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm going to be judged, even though that's not what happened, right? But if I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm going to be judged because I'm getting it wrong, I'm not doing good, I'm letting somebody else down, I have this whole thing of being like rejected, being embarrassed, and just feeling like shit, to be honest with you. But I know when I'm in that cycle that it's just my ego kicking in. It's like my fears kicking in. It's my pure ego. So this is where when I talk about who you get to be, so who I'm being in that moment is not my true self, right? It's my ego that's running the show. So I was able to journal on why my ego was coming up, journal on why my fears were kicking in, and who did I get to be in that moment. So in that moment, when I was experiencing that, I got to be compassionate with myself so I could be on my feelings to release them. But I also got to be courageous to share what I'm experiencing because I know other people are too. And it's when we're being honest with ourselves and really telling the truth about what it looks like behind the scenes, that's when other people can relate. Like I had a client yesterday who got like smacked in the face with overwhelm, and I mean like literally you might as well have picked up a book, the heaviest book that you had, and just kept beating her down with it. And that happens. It's like so common for it to happen. And her words, just like when she said them, I was like, do you know what, you need to say that to other people because it will resonate with them, even though it's nothing to do with what her business is. It's exactly how people feel. What she said was, I can see why entrepreneurs give up, because it feels so hard when this happens. And of course it does. And it will literally consume you, right? It will consume you. Like, I'm not even hiding the fact I lay on this couch, and there was nights where the blanket was over my head where I sobbed because I needed to release my emotions. I was feeling them. And Robert didn't know what to do other than he was just rubbing my legs, right? But these things come up for us. But if you pretend that they don't exist, if you try and avoid them, if you try and ignore them, you're making your life 10 times harder. And this is why people fail, particularly in business and in relationships too, by the way. But particularly, I'll just focus on business. In business, if you're not willing to accept that you have these emotions and that they're impacting you and that they don't have to impact you, then everything else is going to fall apart, right? Like, the inner work is not easy to do, and it's necessary. So, like, an example that I can give you is like commitment. So the feedback I get from people consistently is, I really admire your consistency, your commitment, and your honesty, right? They're the three things that I hear, and I'm super grateful for that, because the commitment piece was one that I had to break through. So consistency was there, but depends on what you're talking about consistency in. But commitment wasn't. My first year in business, I was committed to being comfortable. I was committed to being right. I was committed to doing things my way. Didn't matter what a mentor said to me. I'm like, screw you. That's not how I'm going to do it. This is the way I'm going to do it, because I would decide that I'm just not going to do it like that. And here's my bunch of reasons on my terms and conditions as to why I'm not going to do it. But really, why I wasn't going to do it is because I was terrified of what somebody would say. I didn't feel that I had the ability to do it. And I'm like, who am I? Like, I was mortified. But underneath that, and again, this is why I'm going to keep sharing all this stuff, underneath that was really the shame that I was holding on to about how my life was. That I came from like a single parent home where I lived with my mum and my granny and my aunt. And I can tell you, I'm not ashamed of that, but it's what everything else was created around that. And I only found this out by working on my mindset and by going through leadership and really looking at how I was leading my life and how these things were impacting my life. So when it came to my home, it wasn't that I lived with my mum and my granny and my aunt. That was not what I had shame around. But when I was going to school, some of you will know this, but when I was going to school, there was some friends that I wasn't allowed to go play with or be in their houses because I was labeled as a troublemaker because I didn't have a dad around. Now, as a child, that all I could see was, I'm not a good person. I need to do more. I need to be more. I'm responsible for somebody else's feelings towards me, which is how all of this stuff started. So it was nothing really to do with my home, but I'm still holding on to the shame of it because I hadn't brought it to the surface. So that still came up over speaking in Crow Park. So that's what didn't work. But what also did work was me looking at, how do I get to be courageous in this situation? How can I be compassionate towards myself? How can I be compassionate to others? How can my story help somebody else? Like, if I'm vulnerable and I share my story, how can it support somebody else? And I know it's supported so many people from me already sharing this, because, you know, I've got messages from you. So what else didn't work was the frequency in which sales were being made. So we lost sales. I lost sales along the way because I wasn't urgent. I wasn't urgent, and the frequency on which I was selling was lower. So when I was unwell, I wasn't selling, and I hadn't set myself up for the sales to continue without me being present. So that was what didn't work. And that's something that's now being tweaked, fixed, and resolved going forward. So, because it needs to happen whether I'm there or not. I can't be the be all and end all as to whether or not sales takes place. So we've tweaked that so that that doesn't happen again. But also, because of the self-doubt that came up for me, I held back my voice on how I was speaking out what was possible, calling people in. Like, I was being apologetic rather than unapologetic about what I was doing. And that didn't work. Now, I know what some of you are going to be saying is 30K in sales is amazing. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm not saying it's not. But what I'm saying is there's always a next level. I'm able to look at it and go, okay, where did I not fully go in? Where did I hold back? Where did I miss out on opportunities? Where did I say no when I should have said yes? Where did I can't say where did I spend like an hour on the couch when I didn't need to, because taking care of myself was necessary, but like where did I do a task rather than being present and connected online or in person, so like they were things that didn't work. And that was down to how I was leading myself and letting my ego and my self-doubt run me, rather than not I will never say the words me being in control of it, because you should never be in control of yourself, but me coming from a grounded, empowered position. So that is literally behind the scenes of the 30K sales in 30 days. And I want to say it again. If you're new enough to business, do not have an expectation of these results. There's certain foundations that you have got to have in place in order to be able to create the results. So they are, you need to be very clear on what you're an expert in. Your brand message needs to sing clearly every time, like it needs to be a non-negotiable, what you speak about, and the message that you deliver, so that people know that this is what they can trust you for. You want to be a safe space. If you're constantly changing what you're talking about, you're not safe, if that makes sense. Of course you're safe, but it's not, they don't feel safe with you to know that you're the person that's going to support them getting the results. Then you want to make sure that you have a steady stream of leads coming in. Without leads, you have no sales. But this is a box people want to avoid. They want to jump straight to sales. Or you'll assume that like being in the DMs is sufficient to create sales. It's not. There's strategies that you want to layer to be able to bring in leads quickly and efficiently. And when I say quickly, I'm not talking about like overnight. I'm talking about you want to give yourself 3 months to be able to build up your leads and then have that on repeat. Because you have to remember, whatever seed you sow now is going to reap the benefit in the future. But if you're not willing to put in the effort and invest, like when it comes to your business, you need to be investing more than just money. You need to invest time, right? The same way you need to invest more than just time, you need to invest money, and set yourself up for success and get yourself into a position where you have this constant momentous movement. And the way to do that is to have your foundations in place first. So do those little pieces and then have your strategies in place to bring in leads consistently. And there's ways to do it that you do not need to be online like 24 hours a day. There's much easier ways to do it. And there's ways to be able to bring people onto your email list and then to be able to start selling from them immediately, like selling to them immediately. But you're never going to know what you don't know unless you get support from somebody to show you that, which is exactly what I do. I show you how to build those foundations, bring the leads into your business within 90 days, like, and I'm talking about hundreds of them, and then how to start making sales instantaneously. Like a client of mine yesterday, I was laughing literally throughout the day. She was like, and another sale, and another sale, and another sale, and another sale, which is amazing because she had had none. And in her words, she's like, now I'm a business bitch. It's like, yes, you are. Because she's bringing in leads and she's bringing in sales consistently, which is what everybody wants, right? So if that's a place that you're in and you want to have that consistency and you find that you're like, a headless chicken running around and you don't know where to go, eliminate that. Get off the struggle bus and let me support you. Just the call link is there if you want to just book a call and have a chat. You do not have to get locked into a 6-month program if you do not want to be in one, right? Sometimes people just love VIP days. I've actually sold 2 VIP days already this month because that's what people want. They just want the down and dirty strategy and, where do I go next? What do I do next? What's my next step? And you can do that very easily in a VIP day. So the link is there for you to be able to book a call with me and have a chat. And I know for some people it can be nerve-wracking to have the call. Don't worry about that. Just book the call and let's have a chat. I always bring a cup of tea so you're in safe hands. I love my tea. We just have like a little chat so we can see where you're at, because I know some people don't know what these calls look like, right? So we'll have a look at where you're at. What is it specifically that you are looking to create? What already exists in your business that may be working and you could possibly just tweak, right? Because sometimes, and if ever you see my stories of where people have like really quick results, it's because a lot is working already. Like time and effort has been put into stuff and it's working. And it's just small little tweaks that we make to start that flow going. And then we continue on with the rest so that you can capitalize on it and have that ongoing consistency in sales, which is what you want in business. So if this sounds like something that you want, click the link and book a call with me, and I will see you all very soon.